The Washington Commanders found themselves in the NFC Championship game last season and made some big offseason additions. And one of those additions in Deebo Samuels is ready to have a big season and be the X factor for the Washington Commanders. We gonna talk about it. And then my man Sam Darnold said he ready for a big season after they laid an egg in the playoffs while he was with the Minnesota Vikings and is now a Seattle Seahawk. Y'all know we gonna talk about it and break it all down right after this.
Welcome to your number one spot for all NFL news and content, NFL Central.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back into another episode of NFL Central, your number one spot for everything NFL. I'm your host here, Bobby, and I'm holding it down for today's daily episode. So if y'all tuned in, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. But hey, we know all things what's been going on around the NFL, especially with the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders, man, I feel like they had an excellent offseason going out there and getting guys like Deebo Samuel, going out there and trading for Laramie Tunsil, and added on a number of players who I believe can go out and help this young team make some really some loud noise in the NFL, especially the NFC. And then, especially with being in a division where your division rival got the champions, you definitely got to come to play. You definitely got to be able to say, hey, we trying to knock these guys out the way so we can get ourselves a championship. But then when you look at one of the guys in specifically, Deebo Samuel, this is a big season for Deebo Samuel. Not even going to lie to you. Deebo Samuel, I believe, is very talented as a wide receiver / running back. However you want to categorize him, I believe Deebo Samuel is just one of that guys that can do a multitude of things for your football team. But Deebo Samuel has had his fair share of issues as well. My man has not been able to stay healthy the last few seasons. I know in 2021, I believe that was his Pro Bowl year. My man's had 77 catches for 1,400 yards and 6 touchdowns. But ever since then, he has not gained over 900 yards in receiving for the San Francisco 49ers. But now he's a Washington Commander, and my man seemed like he's prepared to go. And Jaden Daniels looked like he ready to let Deebo cook. Let Deebo cook. We definitely gonna see what that looks like, especially with Cliff Kingsbury at the helm. And my man Jaden Daniel is really excited to let Deebo Samuels go out there and ball out for the Washington Commanders. My man's Jaden Daniel said this. I'm excited to throw to him a little screen. Hopefully on the stat sheet, it says a touchdown for 80 yards, and I didn't have to do any of the work. My man said it while he had a little smile on his face at Fanatics Fest, you know what I'm saying, this past weekend. And hey, that's some of the things that we've seen Deebo Samuel do in the past. And right now, those guys over there in Washington, they're raving about him. Head coach Dan Quinn, Cliff Kingsbury, they're saying that he looks really good out there. He looks like he's one of the fastest players on the team. And we know that, yeah, the speed stuff is good, but Deebo Samuel, when it was the yards after the catch, I believe he averaged about 13 yards after the catch and then about 8 yards after contact. You know what I'm saying? So that's some things that you really want to see the Washington Commanders lean further into, because you want to see Deebo Samuel be that different type of a receiver than a Terry McLaurin, who's actually going through some contract stuff right now. But you definitely want to see Deebo Samuel be the Deebo Samuel, turn back the clock a little bit. And because you seen him during his time with the San Francisco 49ers go out there and, you know what I'm saying, have his injuries. The offense was a bit underwhelming. It was Deebo Samuel. And if it wasn't Deebo Samuel, it was Brandon Ayuk, who ultimately ended up tearing his ACL. And then the offense just never really got it going. You had George Kittle in and out. You had my man Trent Williams go down. And you had a number of things that took place in San Francisco. So sometimes a change of scenery will do justice for some players. And sometimes It just means that they're closer and closer to the end. So I hope for Deebo Samuel's sake that it does not mean that we are closer and closer to the end. Because I remember several plays to where Deebo Samuel could just take a little screen pass, a little small slant, a little, little flare out and catch it in the flats. And he's able to pick up big yardage, push guys out the way, tell them to get off me, and then just excite a crowd. So what Deebo Samuel could potentially bring to a team like the Washington Commanders, who now have higher expectations since they made the NFC Championship game, Deebo Samuel, especially a guy that has played in the Super Bowl, should be considered a big addition for a team like the Washington Commanders. But it's not going to be up on us. It's going to be up on the Washington Commanders to go out there and figure it all out. They're gonna have to go out there and say, hey, this is what we about to do. This is how we're gonna do it. We're gonna have to see some of that creativity come into play with Cliff Kingsbury, because now the film is out. The film is out for the Washington Commanders. So that's gonna be expectations and things that Jaden Daniels is gonna have to go out there and figure out. The good thing is that now bringing on Deebo Samuel on to the Washington Commanders, a lot of teams know what Deebo likes to do. A lot of people seen Deebo operate in a Kyle Shanahan type of offense, but now there's going to be some adjustment that teams are going to have to make, because now Deebo Samuel will be operating in a Cliff Kingsbury type of offense. And we're going to see if Cliff Kingsbury can dive deeper into his creativity bag to not only help Jaden Daniels, but be able to make sure Terry McLaurin is still taken care of. Still make sure that now that Deebo Samuel is now taken care of. So we're going to have to see a number of things from this OC to make sure that these guys are ready to rock and roll, because the film is out on Jaden Daniels, and a lot of times when you surprise somebody and then the next season the film is out, you have a little bit of a drop off. Not necessarily go into the dumpster, but there's a little bit of a drop off and adjustment that quarterback has to make, like i.e. CJ Stroud. Hell of a rookie season, kind of a drop off in year 2, but he was still really, really good. Wasn't a crazy drop off. Let's make that clear. But it was definitely some more learning that CJ Stroud had to do before, what I'm saying, he ultimately was able to, get his feet back up under him, adjust a little bit more. The OC down there in Houston had to adjust a little bit more to where the Houston Texans can go out there and be better. And then they still make the playoffs the following year after CJ Stroud's rookie year. That was really, really good. So we're going to see if the Washington Commanders can go out there and still make the playoffs again, especially knowing that the Philadelphia Eagles are right there. You got the Dallas Cowboys talking greasy. You got other teams that's around the NFL that's looking all right, and that in the NFC that's still trying to improve. So we shall see. We shall see if my man's Deebo Samuel could come out here and be the X factor for the Washington Commanders. But hey, let me know how y'all feeling about that, because now we're gonna talk about Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks. My man Sam Darnold, he was speaking with the Athletics Mike Silver, and they pretty much had some things to talk about last season. Last season, man, the Minnesota Vikings went out there and had a surprising season. I believe they went out there and won 14 games, but then ultimately they end up getting their tail sent home in the first round. And Sam Darnold literally at the end of that season really didn't have a good finish to a strong comeback season, if you're asking me. But overall, the season, if you look at everything in totality, it was a really good season that my man Sam Darnold had put together for the Minnesota Vikings, minus all those endings to the season for the Minnesota Vikings. But for the Seattle Seahawks, he got himself 100 mil. He got himself 100 mil. And now my man has something to say. My man Sam Darnold said, for lack of a better term, we laid an egg as an offense. And I think for me personally, that sucks. I felt like we were really a good team, but at the end of the day, and this is gonna sound a little pessimistic, but when you get to the end of it and you don't win the whole thing, you failed. I feel like I could have played way better, to be completely honest with you. I feel like I didn't play up to my standard. I truly feel that way. I feel like if I would have just played better, I would have been able to give the team a chance. So now he's ready to say, hey, I'm here now with the Seattle Seahawks. Let's give them a chance. Now it's gonna be some things that we gotta worry about and see how all this stuff is gonna come together with the Seattle Seahawks. They are in a division to where I have two teams that are clearly better than them, at least in my evaluation. They're in the NFC West, and I believe that the Rams are ahead of them. And I believe with all the additions to the Arizona Cardinals are right now are better than the Seattle Seahawks. But that does not mean that Sam Darnold can't come out here and make some noise. Hell, I thought that last season having him come in and start as a quarterback, the Detroit Lions. You know what I'm saying? I believe Detroit Lions still won the North, but the Vikings was still right there. And they leapfrogged the Chicago Bears, who had a terrible season, and then the Green Bay Packers, who had a lot of expectations. They didn't live up to those expectations, and they let the Vikings come in and win a lot of games, 14 games. So you look at that type of situation, but now you're in Seattle, and now with the Seattle Seahawks, you gotta make a lot of noise, my boy. That's just what it come down to. I think that he's gonna have to put together a solid season. I'm not saying he has to go out there and absolutely make a, you know what I'm saying, a Super Bowl run, but you got to help those Seattle Seahawks go out there and win some football games. They traded away DK Metcalf. You know what I'm saying? You got Jackson Smith and Jigba. And then you went out there and pick up a Cooper Flag. So a decent little wide receiver room. I'm still anxious to see what that wide receiver room will look like. The defense, I believe the defense is ready to go as a young unit. And it's gonna be up to Sam Darnold to see if he seek to go out there and see if he can do something for the Seattle Seahawks to where they're not feeling like, damn, we really gave this man 100 mil. You know what I'm saying? Even though they are paying like really, really a good price for a quarterback like Sam Darnold, who I believe is still, I think he had a good season last year. But now that the film is out, you got to keep going back to the film is out. I want to see if there's an adjustment period that he's going to have to go through. We know that the arm is strong. We know that the mechanics look all right. We know that he's a guy that struggled early on and then was able to kind of revitalize his career. Can he have a now can he sustain that success that we've seen out of Minnesota, kind of like a who the quarterback they just had in Seattle, a Geno Smith, kind of like that. You know what I mean? Can we see something like that to where now you're putting years and years together as not necessarily saying that I have to be an MVP candidate, but can you put up seasons well enough to where this team is not regretting making that decision for bringing you in the building? You know what I'm saying? When you go out there and you lose certain football games, is the team looking at you and saying, bro, you trash? Or is the team saying that, hey, we still got a lot of learning to do as an entire team? So, how do you go out there and lead these guys? It's going to be very, very interesting to see from Sam Darnold. Look, I don't know where they're going to go with this. I personally feel like they're third in the NFC West. They could very well finish second, but I still got a lot more to see. And I believe, even though I'm not that high on the San Francisco 49ers this season, you still got to go out there and show a little respect to Kyle Shanahan, because Kyle Shanahan, he's going to have that offense ready to roll. They're making a lot of adjustments down there in San Francisco. So then you're definitely going to have to see how this all plays out in the NFC West is really, you know what I'm saying, really a challenge, especially for a team like the Seattle Seahawks. But they made a lot of moves. They got a lot of good pieces around the team. We'll see what the plan is. We'll see how it's executed, because Sam Darnold, it's time to put up a shut up, my boy. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying it's the end all be all if he just go out there and have a bad season, but he can't go out there and just be completely basura, bro. He can't. He got to go out there and actually perform, bro. And you got to go out there and perform and win some football games. You can't go out there, get your money, and then revert back to New York Jets, Sam Darnold. That's all I'm saying. Now, if you giving that team those early glimpses of the Minnesota Vikings, Sam Darnold, the one that revitalized his career, or what we believe you did, that's only gonna do justice for you and these guys over there. So y'all already know. My phone won't stop ringing. Y'all know how I go. It be busting. But nonetheless, man, that is it for today's show, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode of NFL Central. Before y'all get up out of here, go ahead and give us a listen. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well, man. We're going to keep this thing rolling, but it's a lot of things. Right now, we in the dog days. The NFL finals is over, and we still got a couple more weeks before we hit training camp. But the thing is, we still want to keep the football discussions going. So make sure y'all tune in and hit that like button and subscribe. But that is it for me today, y'all. Thank y'all so much. We appreciate y'all. I'm going to catch y'all on the next for sure.